What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Hopefully welcome back. Been putting some videos out on this Big Wheels 80, also on this Cat 215B. I feel like I'm screaming into the dark, man. Nobody really gets into these motorcycle videos or these excavator videos. My solar crowd, man, those guys, I have like 40-50 comments or something like that. I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating, but those folks are very interactive. Maybe I gotta just be the solar guy and just do all this other stuff in my own time. If you've been watching the videos I've been doing on this Cat 215B, made a lot of progress on this thing. I guess I'm at somewhat of an impasse now. You know, the owner of this machine doesn't seem real interested in proceeding with all of these repairs that this thing needs. He's considering, oh geez Louise, just tripped over those cedar logs. He's got other projects he's working on. I think he just kind of wants me to buy this thing. So I don't really know what to do at this point, you know. But it's close to a point where we can just kind of run it as is, and if stuff starts breaking, the stuff starts breaking in regards to the undercarriage issues it has. I've checked a lot of other stuff on this thing. The only thing I haven't done is verified the fluid levels for the final drives to see, you know, you don't want to be running those dry if they happen to be dry, and you wouldn't know unless you checked. So we got to check. One other thing I'd like to do is pull these inspection panels here for the drive motors, just see what's going on in there. Is it full of dirt? You know, you can have lines corrode and break because there's a lot of dirt in there, just to see what's going on, what's the condition of things back there. And maybe we'll just try and run this thing. I don't know. Go do a little digging. One thing I'm considering doing, since it seems like either this track tensioner is blown and or fully extended, you can see we've got a big old glob of grease there coming out. It's definitely leaking. But this track is obviously super saggy, and it's wanting to kick the bottom in and out of these lower rollers, which is not good. You don't want to break the lower rollers or kick a track if you can't help it. Maybe what I'll do is, you know, somebody's installed these stoppers on here to where it won't go back any further, which is a real great indication that either this track tensioner is fully extended, is non-operational, or maybe a combination of both. But I'd like to kind of just lift this track up and see if I can get it to extend normally with some additional grease without there being any pressure on it. And then maybe I can find another piece of metal to, you know, jam in there and or weld in there so it won't go back any further, and I can maintain some tension on this track as they had intended. But we'll see. I'm at a crossroads here. I kind of threw an offer out on this thing and haven't heard back about it. So, you know, it's not a no, it's not a yes, it's just a limbo type of situation. So I guess that's fire this thing up and rotate the body of it so I can get to that access panel back there and take a little look under the skirt and see what she's got going on. might be a little ragged out, but she always starts up. Gotta give it that. That side's unhappy. Alright, got some really nice clean oil coming out of here. I don't know if you can see that color or not. Slightly overfilled. Rather be overfilled than underfilled in this context. And that having been said, I don't notice any leaks coming from the drive motor unit, if you will, with it being overfilled, which is an indication that obviously the seals are good. So that's nice. We're going to go back over to this other side. I'm going to let that soak for a little bit while we take these covers off. There's no sense of forcing it at this point. All right, as you can see, these things are bent up pretty darn good. Probably end up taking a sledgehammer to these and straightening them out some. That way it keeps the dirt from getting in there. Let's revisit this plug over here. Try keeping this again. Alright, as you can see, this is kind of as I suspected, full of dirt and grease. You really don't want this stuff on your lines. See how this one's getting rusty? Looks like this one over here has a bit of a leak. This is a real good time to get in here, dig all this stuff out, wire brush everything up, hit it with some penetrating oil. That way you can kind of marinate, if you know what I'm saying. That way, if and when you have a repair that needs to be done, and these are, you know, this thing's 84, so these are over 40-year-old hoses, most likely. One of these hoses are going to end up blowing, or a line is going to corrode and break. And when that happens, you want to be ready, and we're going to do our best to be ready when that does happen. And like I said, we got some panels that need, you know, straightened out, literally. and figuratively, all bent up. I don't know. It appears those bolts may have been broken off. I'm probably not going to be doing any kind of extractions on these. I just want it to kind of fit a little better so we don't get all this crap in here. So I'm going to go get like a putty knife or something to start scraping this up. And I think I'm also going to fire up the air compressor. I'm going to give this a couple of ooga doogas with the impact gun and see if that can shock it loose, because it no likey the breaker bar, and I don't want to break the breaker bar. So we'll see how that goes. All right, we got this air compressor fired up. Let's see if a couple of ooga doogas get this guy to come loose. I would say not so much. It seems like it wanted to strip out. I'm going to put this extension on here and see if this does a little better. I hit this thing with a torch pretty good. That thing's froze up real bad. Not great. Well, that air compressor's catching up, so let that thing soak for a little bit. Even if we had to let this guy soak for a matter of days or a couple of weeks, eventually that should free itself up. In the meantime, I know I got big putty knife somewhere, but I'm just going to use this chisel. Get a lot of crap out of here. You know, and stuff like this, you know, this is preventative maintenance here, and this is also what I want to call preventative stress release in the future. Because let's say that this thing, you know, I'm out in the woods with this thing and we have some type of a failure. I'm not having to deal with all these frozen bolts just to get the covers off, and then digging all of this crap out of here just to see what's going on. This is literally, this is me helping future Steve out right now here today. Anything that you can do to make tomorrow a better day is a good thing to do today. Doesn't matter whether it's a load of laundry or some dishes, paying a bill. Do something today to make tomorrow better. Alright, well, you can see I have dug quite a bunch of crap out of here. I'm going to follow up here with a pressure washer to all this nasty stuff out of here. We can start from scratch. I'm also going to pressure wash these covers off before I straighten those up with the old sledgehammer. Away we go. All right, let's see if we can get this track tensioner to move it all with the pressure off of it, so to speak. Okay, so I got this digging bar wedged in here. Looks like I've gotten about 3/8 of an inch of movement. I put that there so when I cycle these tracks, hopefully we don't lose what we've gained there. So I'd say that's it, man. We got about 3/8 of an inch. It's wanting, the seal is leaking, it's wanting to bleed back. I think that's all the adjustment we got, so we'd have to take a link out of this thing. That's where we're at. So I mentioned I was a dent guy before, right? These guys are just laid on here loose. Would you just look at it? Hold on, there we go. Gotta remove that one. Nice and nice. I like. So yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slit these to where you could just slide this panel in and then line the bolts up with some washers. I'm gonna take this cover off. Good news, I thought that the 4 fasteners for the side of this were all broken off, because that's the way it normally would be if you were dumb enough to put a 3/8 bolt on a piece of heavy equipment like this. You know, it should be at least a 1/2 inch or a 5/8. That way it's got a fighting chance of coming loose. But I'm going to tap those out. I've got the tap here, and today is Saturday, tomorrow's Sunday. The hardware store opens late because of Jesus in the South. And I don't have anything against Jesus, but, you know, I guess everybody should have an opportunity to go to church in the morning on Sunday if they'd like. And I can still get hardware just a little later. So I'm going to go ahead and tap out those 4 and maybe a couple other ones and remove that 1 bolt. And we'll be ready for brand new hardware. And once I pull this off, I'll show you guys everything after it's been cleaned up. I got these covers off, and this is looking good, okay? This is what you want it to be like when you go to work on it. So I'm gonna come in here and wire brush a lot of this stuff up and do what I'm gonna call pre-soak it in some of that PB Blaster. That way, if any of this gimble's driving me nuts. So if any of this stuff needs to come loose, you know, you've got a fighting chance of this stuff coming loose when you actually need to work on it. And like I said earlier, like this is a really good thing to be doing, completely unnecessary. But if something happens and you go to work on this, you're not going to have a whole bunch of problems getting these covers off. You're not going to have a bunch of problems seeing what's wrong or getting in there and fixing stuff without contaminating, you know, your new parts or the fluid or whatever it might be. This, in my opinion, is how you do it. I'm a little bit of a psycho, I guess, but I don't think there's any other way to be when it comes to repairs. Well, that went nice. I got all of these bolt holes cleaned up with the tap. I've got those 2. I've got those 2, and then those 3. Now, this is something I've never done. I normally do these all by hands. By hand. It's a little hot and I'm getting tired. Always wanted to be a maniac and do what I did, where you just take your impact gun and you kind of run them in there. You know, I was doing it carefully, going back and forth, but yeah, I've always been too afraid to break off one of my snap-on taps in a, you know, something like this where it's a 1/2 inch piece of metal or a 3/4 inch piece of metal like that, and then you've lost a $25-30 tap, and you're absolutely screwed because it's stuck in there. So yeah, that was fun. So I guess we're at a good stopping point for today. We'll get some hardware tomorrow, and then tomorrow we're going to cut those little slits for those 3 fasteners. That way we can just slide it in. I think it'd make a lot easier to put that cover on. You just slide it in, tighten these bolts up, and then tighten those last. It's going to streamline things a whole bunch. But yeah, good progress. So I was a little pissy earlier about this track situation, but I'm sure you've noticed, if you've been watching these videos, that one of these pads is bent up pretty good. So that guy's rubbing and making some noise. So I think we're definitely going to be splitting the tracks on this side to start with. I'm going to order 2 rebuild kits for the tensioners. We're going to split the tracks on this side, and I'm going to knock the master link out and then cut out one regular link, and that should shorten this these rails, these chains, these tracks, whatever you like to call them, up enough to where we can get back in spec with this tensioner. If you take a look here, you've got a finite amount of adjustment that would be pretty much all the way out, and that little ridge would be pretty much all the way in. I would say the excessive amount of slack that we have, and the fact that that tensioner is all the way out, hopefully when we remove one link, we will not be too short, because that would be a real SOB. So hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, so that'll be for another time. But yeah, we'll get on just wrapping this up tomorrow. Bueno dia! It is Sunday morning. Did a little something off camera. So this is the 1/2 inch breaker bar. This is the 3/4 inch breaker bar. One is definitely not the other. So I tried using my 3/4 to 1/2 inch adapter. This thing is very close to rounding out. I tried heating and beating and whatnot, and she is very unhappy still. So we have a 1/2 inch air gun. We have a 3/4 inch air gun. So I think what I'm going to try doing is taking the air chisel, seeing if I can get on this edge here and shock it loose, because the shocking effect is quite shocking, and sometimes it'll knock it loose. Just like people need a little shaking every once in a while. But yeah, I don't recommend shaking people, but sometimes you got to shake things up. So that's what we're going to try and do here. That right there is exactly what you do not want. So we've got a new product to try. One of the viewers was recommending a PD Blaster Max or whatever. They didn't have that at the hardware store, but they had this DuPont Release It premium penetrating oil with a name like Release It. This stuff better work. So I'm always willing to try a new product. I have not seen this yet, so we're going to put this to the test over here on this situation, because this is officially situation now. That had been soaking in PB Blaster for about 24 hours and no such luck. Well, we're going to go ahead and hit all these guys with some anti-seize and put these panels back on and wait for that thing to just decide to give up. So if you are a car guy, nothing says that I give many a shits and am full pro, quite like grade 8 hardware with lock washers and flat washers that have been never seized. Nothing quite says I give all the F's quite like this. What an improvement. What a wonderful show of professionalism. Well, guys, if any of you happen to be Seinfeld fans, you'll be familiar with a George Costanza quote. You want to leave on a high note. That's exactly what I want to do. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.